Hi kids, welcome to part 2. I'm redoing this video. I made one last night where I covered everything that I'm about to cover, but I wasn't happy with it. I made it fairly late. The lighting wasn't very good and the camera was too close, and so you ended up looking at a lot of me, sort of half my face and whatnot. And I put it up on YouTube and 2 or 3 people watched it, but then I took it right back down. There's another reason why I took it down. I was just going to add a little something to the end of it this morning, but I decided to just redo this. So anyway, this is part 2. There's nothing here right now. Why? Let's talk about that. This is the tuning capacitor. I took it off the chassis to clean it because boy did it need it. Let me go ahead and show you a couple of before pictures, and then I'll let you look at this as it is now. Okay, so here it is. Took it off of there, and I took the slugs out, the tuning slugs, and I removed the mica wafers, which I have in this little envelope. You can see them all right here. They need cleaned. I'm gonna just use a Q-tip and some soap and water, just get the dirt off of them, and then I'll put them back in there. But I cleaned this really good. Excuse me. And looking a lot better. Still a little bit scrapey, so I'm wondering if a couple of the fins aren't touching. We'll find out when we get it all hooked up. I got it cleaned up about as best I can, and I oiled it really well. And we'll put some new wires on it. The wires on the chassis are too short and not very heavy gauge, so I'm going to just put a couple of pieces of new wire on there and reinstall that. So that's where that's at. That came out really well. We'll see how that does. I did that. And since I had to take that off, to get to that, I had to take the back of the dial off. So I repainted that. You can see that's the original color. It's a lot browner, or somewhat browner. It's still, I would still say it's gold-ish, but it's, has more brown in it. I just used the gold hammer finish. I thought that would look nice. I'm not sure if I have my... I'm moving stuff around and trying to clean my bench off a little bit because it was such a mess. Now I don't know where the... Oh, there it is. Yay. Okay. Here is the dial indicator. So that's going to look like that now against that. That'll look, that'll brighten things up a little bit. That'll look nice. There's just a piece of tape or something on the back of this. So I think the theory is that when the dial light, you can see the dial light goes in here, like that. And then once the dial light shines down, it will illuminate that piece of tape and light that dot up a little bit to help you, tune your station in. It wants to come off there. It's been on there for, 75 years or something. So I'm going to probably just glue a piece of parchment paper on there. So that is that. The next thing I want to talk about is the clear plastic dial itself. I'm going to show you a before and after picture on the cleanup on that, and then I'll come back and talk about it. There's that. Okay, you just saw the before and after. There were shadows from the phone when I had it inside, so I'll just show it to you here. I'll just go ahead and, that's what you're going to be looking at more or less, like that. With that red dot in there, So that cleaned up pretty well. It's got a couple of scratches I might go after, probably should, I don't know. But then I'd have to kind of finely sand this and try to polish it back out and everything. We'll see. I'm not fond of doing that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to make this as nice as I can, so we'll see. That came out pretty nice though, and you can see thick as it is, it didn't warp, and it hasn't really discolored much. It's still nice and clear and looks very nice, and I like the etching on it. It's pretty cool. So that is the other thing that I did. And now I need to talk about the chassis. Chassis, of course, is very rusty and nasty looking. So one of the first things I did when I took this off, there was a lot of rust underneath. Cleaned that up as best I could. There was rust on the underside of the chassis. A really bad spot right next to the electrolytic capacitor, because I think the electrolytic capacitor leaked. And I may have to just go ahead and take it off of there and maybe take the guts out of it and put it back on just so that it looks okay. I don't want to just have a hole in the chassis. Because I think it, it has leaked in the past. It probably is still leaking. So I cleaned up underneath as best I could, and I put a terminal strip under there. And I am going to attach the new electrolytic capacitors to that terminal strip. So I'll show you a picture of that right now, and then I'll come back and talk about the rest of the chassis. So you can see that the terminal strip is held in place. There's a stud there with a nut, and that stud is where the IF can attaches to the chassis. There's a stud that goes down through and then a nut on the bottom, and I just attached the terminal strip to that, so that'll work fine. And I can attach my electrolytics to it, and the electrolytics just ground to the chassis, so that's what that center lug is for. You just solder the positive of the electrolytic here and all the wires that go to it, and then solder the negative there, and bam. Pretty basic stuff. So when it comes to the chassis, there were a couple of things that I needed to mention. I decided to repaint the chassis, which is something I've never done before. I usually just clean them up as best I can, but that thing was so nasty, I didn't feel like I had a choice. So I cleaned it up as best I could with a wire brush and a wire wheel attached to the drill. And then I just decided to go ahead and paint it with the hammer finish paint, because you can paint right over the rust, and it'll minimize the pitting and everything. The metal was pretty pitted in a couple of places. So I'll show you that. Before and after pictures on that. I'll show you the chassis as I was cleaning it up, and then there's a picture of it masked off and ready for painting. So I'll show you those now, and then I'll come back and show you that chassis. Okay, here's the not so big reveal. So I used the blue hammer finish paint, and it came out pretty blue, Get that under the light. I've got the garage door open for some decent lighting in here. It came out pretty blue, but it looks a lot nicer. I could go over it with silver now that I've covered up most of the rust, but I probably won't. I'll just leave it with this blue hammer finish. It looks nice enough. It's by no means perfect. I just cleaned it up as best I could, got rid of the heavy stuff, and didn't worry too much about it. It'll be fine, just the way it is. A couple other things I want to mention. I took the antenna coil off because it was pretty rusty under that, so that'll have to go back on there, along with that tuning capacitor, and that back of the dial there will go there like that. It was interesting on the tuning capacitor. It goes in there like that, and there was just one screw holding it in place. So I found a couple of hex screws that'll hold it at the back, and this one is just bolted directly to the chassis. There's no rubber snubbers or anything to reduce vibration or anything. So they were really cutting some corners on this radio, but it'll be all right. I saw a comment on the Antique Radio forum online that said that somebody else did one of these, and they actually said they were really happy with the way it came out, with the way it sounded. So I'll have to put that back together, and then we can start working on getting those electrolytics installed there where I put that terminal strip in. Interesting thing, it always pays to read your schematics, I'll tell you why. Because I was looking at this capacitor, and I said in part one that it's a 20 and a 20 microfarad, and it says right there, 20 MFG 150 volts, 20 MFG 150 volts, which is fine. That is a replacement that somebody added, because if you actually look at the schematic, it should be a 40 and a 20. You can see on your schematic 40/20. And this is interesting. I was comparing the because you have both schematics on here. The one at the top is this radio with the 35 Z5 GT rectifier, and the one at the bottom is the T5TS1 that uses a selenium rectifier. And looking at the parts lists and looking at the schematic, the one with the selenium rectifier is supposed to have a 15 ohm resistor going to that rectifier, but this one is not. It doesn't, according to the schematic and the other parts list on the other page down here at the bottom, which is too small for you to read, I'm sure. It's supposed to have a 15 ohm resistor, or not. This one's not supposed to have a 15 ohm resistor. The other one is, but this one does have a 15 ohm resistor. It's right there, coming off the electrolytic, going to the rectifier, you know. So there were some changes made along the way, obviously. That is a brown, green, black. So that is a 15 ohm resistor. So even though it's, you know, so this must have been a tweener. They must have done the initial design and then decided to add that resistor. Happens a lot with these things. It's always important to compare. You know, you're going to find things like that. I'm going to leave it in there. I'm going to replace it because it's out of tolerance. Since it's in there, even though it's not on the schematic, I'll keep it. That's the best thing to do. The other thing that was interesting is looking at the parts list. One of the capacitors, it says 0.0002 UFD instead of MFD, same thing. 0.0002 right there. You can see that. And that seemed odd to me. And then I got to looking at the other parts list at the bottom, and no, it's supposed to be a 0.002. Only 2 zeros, not 3. And when I looked at the actual capacitor that's in here, it is a 0.002. So it's always good to look at what's in the radio and compare it to the schematic and try to figure things out that way. It's very important. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was there was, I think, a piece of asbestos in here when I got this, and it runs right along the bottom of the front of the chassis. It was like, you know, a channel, you know, just a piece of asbestos that was kind of folded into a U or a V, and it just ran along there. And I'll show you a picture of that. You're going to be looking at the picture like this, and you'll see it at the top. It's this whitish grayish thing with some rust spots on it. You'll see it across the top here. I'll show you a picture of that, and then I'll show you a picture of the back where the original rubber snubbers were. There's some that went underneath it on the studs, and then there were some that went on the top with the nut holding the chassis in place. I'll show you those pictures, and then we'll come right back for the big reveal. Okay, well, I went in a little bit of a different order from the video that you're never going to see, and talked about this kind of stuff a little bit, which I didn't do last night, but I thought it was important to mention those sorts of things when the components don't quite match the schematic, what to do about it. The other important thing, you may notice that the cabinet is not on the workbench. I was going to save that for part 3 because I wasn't expecting it to be done quite so early. But hang on, let me grab it. You'll be surprised. Ta-da! There's the back. Give you a good look at that, you know, finish. Look at that. That is powder coated. Yeah, I spent the money. Powder coated it. I did. They called me. I didn't expect it to be done until tomorrow or maybe Monday. Today's Thursday. I just took it over there, I think, on Tuesday. So they had it back to me in 2 days. It's a very, I thought it was going to be, I thought it was really going to be dark, but you can see it's kind of sort of this two-tone, you know, dark, dark and light. It's not just the texture of the hammer finish. It actually is a two-tone hammer finish, which I really like. It's obviously a lot different shade than the original color, but I got what I wanted here. The only thing I am unhappy about is I got in a hurry. I wanted to get this done, and I got in a hurry, and I took it over there, and I didn't pound that dent out. And I talked to him. There was a rust spot there, and I kind of forgot about it, you know. I talked to him about it this morning. They said, you better be really careful trying to pound that out because you might, you know, mess up your powder coat finish. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just live with it. Probably have to at this point. But I like it. It looks really nice. You know, and then of course that'll be in there like that. And well, let's just put this in there too. It's a tight fit now. Put that new powder coat in there. There it goes. You know, like that. Don't look too bad. I decided because the original grill cloth is sort of this, you know, coppery brown color. I don't want to do that. I'll put a gold grill cloth in there. And I thought that would look nice, you know, with the sort of the wraparound gold grill cloth, and then to have this, you know, gold dial face back there. I thought that would look really nice, you know. So that's the plan. So anyway, this is coming together. Now that I have this painted and cleaned up as best I can, we're going to go ahead and put it back together and see if we can get it to do something. That's the next bit. So that'll be in part 3. I just wanted to give you an update since, you know, we're obviously making progress. I wasn't expecting this today, but there it is. Looking spectacular. I think that'll probably do it. I hope I covered everything. I'm sure I'll go and look at this before I post it on YouTube and figure out I forgot something. But if I did, I'll just cover it in part 3. Leave any comments. Let me know what you think. If you like this, you don't like this. If you think there's anything I can do about that dent, yes, no, maybe. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So anyway, there you go. That's part 2. I hope you like it. Please let me know. And thanks for watching.